It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Namaste and welcome to the Divas That Care Network. I'm your host, Gia-Raquel Rose, owner of Airs Above Yoga, and you're listening to Above the Ground podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, our network is in its 14th year and listened to in over 30 countries. I'd like to personally thank you for giving me the gift of your time. It is an honor to hold space with you. And today we are going to talk about self-soothing, and in addition to self-soothing, how to do so with yoga. The holidays are hard. They are very, very challenging, and not just for people who are surrounded by loved ones and family and children and all of the things, but also for people who maybe don't have that much, who maybe are struggling, who potentially have lost someone, who potentially have, lost income, who potentially are not having the sparkling holiday season of their dreams of their past, or, even from last year. The only constant in life is change, as we all know, trite but true. And so, how do we get through this period of celebration, of love and joy? Technically, it's about, or for Christmas specifically, it's supposed to be about, the birth of Jesus, etc. But I think traditionally in the United States, at least, we definitely lean towards a more superficial, consumer-driven practice or, basis for our holidays. It's about buying things. Black Friday is one of my least favorite things in the entire world. And I am recording this after the Thanksgiving holiday, which, is kind of the gateway drug, if you will, into the consumer season, as I like to think of it. And, listen, it's wonderful to be generous. It's wonderful to give gifts. It's wonderful to share. Nothing is better than being able to spoil your loved ones rotten. And it's a true blessing and a gift, and more power to those of you that are in the position to do so. And may whomever you believe in bless you unconditionally and always. But also, man, I wish it was just about being with the people that you love and donating and sharing food and sharing company, and not getting so wrapped up in the inundation of the to-do lists of the holidays, of the shopping, of the wrapping, of the card giving, of all of the I should say societal expectations of what we're supposed to be, especially as women who are the majority responsible for all of this, right? A lot of this falls on the women's shoulders. The cooking, the cleaning, the prepping, the wrapping, the shopping, the buying, the finding the best deals. 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, it's falling on the women. The men can have the tree decorating, getting all of the things out of the closet. And again, I'm just going on the Christmas bent because a lot of the specific issues with regard to consumerism is coming directly from a Christmas holiday. So not to blame Jesus, not to blame Christianity, and certainly not to take any benefit away from other religions and other holiday practices, which are all involving gift giving as well. And so I don't want to focus, but I was raised Catholic. I am now practicing Catholic, and I'm going to speak to what I know. And I wish that, like I said, there was a little bit more love and peace specifically in the holiday season, than what I believe, again, not necessarily religion of any kind, but what society brings about as the focal point of December. And I really, really wish that we could honor each other, hold and share space together, Spend as much time just enjoying your family, friends, and loved ones as you can. Because let's face it, they're not always going to be here. Our time with the people that we love is limited. And to be able to truly experience time with them, shared experience with them, laughter, creating wonderful memories, even crying, even tears can be wonderful memories. Those are the things that matter. Black Friday, the sales, they don't really matter. That stuff is going to wind up getting donated or chucked in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. It's going to collect dust in your house. It does not matter. What does matter are the people that you love and treating them with kindness and not letting the stress of the holidays translate into treating the people closest to you badly, which I've been certainly guilty of. And I'm sure everybody has because we get so stressed out and we take on so much that we lose sight of the things that matter. And I wish we wouldn't. And so I'm going to jump off my soapbox and go into some of the ways that hopefully we can turn inwards, bring our focus inwards, and change our focus and our gaze to what really matters, what's really important. And starting with yourself and hoping that that turns outward. So, for yoga's part in all this, and for how we can use tuning in to ourselves to regulate our emotions, regulate our energy, and thus be more of a beacon of what we choose to be instead of what chooses us. Some of the postures that I think are really helpful around the holiday season are heart openers. And I think that they work for anyone, no matter if you are, Scrooge McChristmas, whether you have all of the family and friends and Christmas is your favorite holiday and you love everything about it, whether you're Jewish and you are preparing for Hanukkah. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what faith you believe in, but I believe that, like I said, yoga is for everybody, everybody, everyone. And heart openers, which essentially are chest expanding poses, or rib cage opening poses, and actually back strengthening poses. And for women especially, and I've gone through this with client after client after client, we have a physical tendency, to slump over. Not only do we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, but we also have two blessings, two gifts, if you will, that nurture and feed children if we have them. Attract attention, which we may or may not want for the gentlemen and potentially ladies in your lives, depending on which direction you happen to lean. And on top of all of that, what do they do to us? Unfortunately, they literally drag us down. Now, I don't mean that in an esoteric sense. I mean literally, physically, the added weight of a woman's breasts tends to create a gentle hunch in her upper back. The literal weight of them, unless you are counteracting that weight with strengthening exercises, tends to hunch you forward even more than sitting on your computer, looking at your phone, driving your car, or any of the other postural positions that we find ourselves in every day, all day, ad nauseum. So, with that in mind, the one thing to note about heart openers is traditionally they fall into the back bend category. And a couple things to note. The first of which is if you have lower back issues, the way you go about these back bends needs to be very, very specific and very, very targeted. To that end, one of the best ways, and also while not traditionally considered heart openers, but a great way to prepare for heart opening poses, are twists. So if you think about your spine, and I'm going to get a little bit kind of yoga technical for a second, but if you think about your spine and your rib cage, the spine is built into three basic, I'll say functions, sections and functions. The lumbar spine at the lower back is meant to bend and flex. The thoracic spine, where your rib cage attaches, is meant for twisting. And the cervical spine, where your neck above the shoulders and your head sits, that is meant for, again, bending and flexing with a little bit of twisting as well. But the main functions of the top and the bottom are to kind of balance each other out. And the main purpose of the middle section is to be the sturdy structure that supports everything from top to bottom. And that is in its most basic form. So please don't hold me to, a physiological degree on that very basic breakdown. But in essence, the heart opener, which the heart resides just about in the middle of your chest, slightly to the left, or to the right if you're one of those people that has a mirror internal insides, which, I think was on some sort of medical show way back in the day. But generally speaking, slightly to the left of the center of the rib cage, essentially, just above the sternum, which sits above the belly button. So it's where your heart chakra is, obviously, which is a little more centralized, but essentially the rib cage is not meant to bend. If you go online and you look up, crazy backbending poses of yogis doing crazy, crazy things and grabbing their toes over their head and all of that fun stuff. The majority of those bends are actually coming from the lumbar spine, and it can actually be detrimental to the lower back to be that flexible. Hypermobility is not necessarily a blessing. It can be a very, a curse, and it can lead to bulging discs, it can lead to herniated disc, etc. So I'll say nice thing about the thoracic vertebrae, the rib cage section of the spine, is that since it's not meant to really flex and bend that much, it kind of just stays where it is. Those back bends, those heart openers are, in a sense, restricted in that you're not going to get very far. So when I say you want to be very careful for the lumbar spine, when you do these and the cervical spine, when you practice these back bends, especially if this is new to you, prop, use a pillow, use a bolster if you have one. Pay very much attention to your lower back and any sensation there that is unpleasant, and engage your lower abdominals, the very lower abdominals, in support of that lumbar spine. And one of the best ways to begin a gentle back bend practice are two postures. And the first of which is what I like is restorative fish. And generally speaking, fish pose is practiced on the elbows. It's actually kind of a strenuous pose, and you're balancing on the crown of the head and lifting the chest up. Now, there are a whole host of contraindications for this pose. And so when I talk about restorative fish, I'm talking about getting a few large pillows and stacking them so that the base of the pillow essentially is just above the bottom of the rib cage, and essentially for a woman at the brow line. It will then go all the way up to support the head and neck, whereas the traditional fish pose opens the throat more so than the chest. This is a very gentle way to open the collarbone. It will not strengthen the back because this is restorative, so you're going to be laying down, but it will open the collarbone, it will release the shoulders, and the shoulders will wrap, in essence, opening around the pillow behind you. And hopefully the pillow is long enough to reach up to the head. And depending on how many pillows you stack will depend on how far off the ground and how, I'll say, deep the curve in the lumbar spine is. And so to that end, making sure that you start small and work your way up. Your legs in this position have a couple options. They can be straight out. They can be in a shavasana type position with the toes falling to the side. They can even be in a reclined bound angle, which are soles of the feet together with the knees bowed out to the side, if that's comfortable, but generally that can be a little tough for some people. And they can finally be with the edges of the feet at the edges of the mat, and this one's really good for the lower back, with the knees resting in and balanced on each other. And that releases some extra or added tension in the lower back that you might find from lifting that rib cage up off the floor with the hips and pelvis on the floor. So if you set yourself up for this, you're going to want to get your pillows, you're going to want to line them up, you're going to want to set your hips up, towards the end of the mat with enough room for your legs to be in whichever position we just discussed. And then you're going to want to very slowly, carefully, using your elbows, roll your spine down onto the support of that pillow, multiple pillows, or bolster. Make sure, again, for this particular iteration of fish pose, that you are supported through your neck and through the crown of the head. We're trying to remove the throat aspect out of it, the neck aspect out of it, and focus on the heart opener. At that point, you can then open the shoulders and allow your shoulders to drape over the pillow and experience the most gentle form of back bend as a wonderful starting point, and even a wonderful way to take a shavasana if it's comfortable enough for you to be there for 5-7 minutes, etc. Another option is a very gentle camel pose. And if you're wondering, how do I engage my lower core while I'm doing a back bend? That seems counterintuitive. I'm opening where I'm supposed to be engaging, and that doesn't make sense to me or in my body. What I would love to suggest if you have a block, if you have access to a yoga block, is to gently get onto your knees. Take the block just above the knees in between the legs, squeeze the block and gently press it behind you so it forces an internal rotation of your thighs. From that place, start to draw up and in through the pelvic floor and start to release through the lumbar spine in the lower back. Just practice this. Practice the drawing in and practice the releasing. On the draw in, then begin to lift up through the abdominals and through the heart center. This is going to be a very gentle, very careful camel pose. From there, two options. You can either take the palms of your hands to your lower back and gently draw down on either side of the tailbone, just at the pelvis, to help release the lower back and the curve in the lumbar spine. Or if you feel like that's not quite enough for you, you can begin to creep them up so that they fall about where the pillow ended in fish pose, just the base of the rib cage to gently, at that point, you're going to start to lift up. So you're lifting your heart center, you're opening, and you're still continuing with the palms, fingertips facing down, pressing into the back as far up as you can comfortably. You don't want to feel anything grumpy in the fronts of the shoulders either. And the elbows can be comfortably bent out to the sides, but you want to start to lift up, not bend back, but lift up. And these are two beginner, wonderful ways to start to implement back bends and heart openers into your practice. I did mention twisting, and what I love about twisting is, let's face it, it's basically like wringing a towel out, right? If your body is in need, especially around the holidays, of a detox, twists are your personal towel wringing. They literally wring out the organs in the body. And it also is a great way to maneuver the thoracic spine to create some flow in a kind of physically stagnant area. So in order to do that, any number of twists, you can do a single leg twist, seated, one leg out, one knee bent, and literally cross to bring the opposite elbow over to the knee, hugging or elbow to the outside of the knee, depending on your level of flexibility. It can be that simple. You can also do an entire fish practice where you come into Lord of the Fishes pose, where the bottom leg is bent and the top leg is crossed over so that you're sitting kind of on the outer part of the hip of the bottom leg. The bottom heel is on the outside of the opposite hip. Now, this sounds a little complicated, but look up Lord of the Fishes pose so that you can get a visual representation of it. And the opposite leg is crossed over, ankle of the knee of the leg that is on the bottom. And then the same thing. You're just going to twist the opposite elbow around or hugging that knee to start to create movement and space in the thoracic vertebrae, and preferably to prep for either of those gentle back bends that we just talked about. Now, obviously, there are so many back bends in yoga, the most aggressive of which being wheel, being full dancer pose, being full pigeon pose. And we're not going to go into any of those. It's the holidays, and I believe one of my more recent episodes was lay down harder. And so we're going with that theme. Like I said, self-soothing and self-care to get through this holiday season, because the holidays are hard. They can be beautiful and wonderful, and they can also be very sad and very devastating and they can change for every person every year. It can be completely different. And so just honor where you are, respect where you are. Try to enjoy as much as you can, always. Find as much joy in every present moment that you can, right? It's a gift. This time that I have that you're giving to me right now it's a gift. It's a blessing. I'm so grateful for you to listen to me and for me to be heard. It's truly a blessing. And so find those for yourself every day and live them and love them. And I hope that yoga helps you to tune into yourself, to hear your body. I should warn you that if you are having a harder than normal holiday season and you do practice any form of heart opener, sometimes twists, definitely hip openers, which I'm not even going to go into right now, You might cry. The body stores all of the emotions that we don't like to deal with and process. So, unless you are in therapy or you are very good at acknowledging and respecting yourself, your boundaries, etc., you may very well lay down in your fish pose, tune in and quiet down, and all that and a flood of emotions may wash over you, and you may find yourself in tears. And it's actually a beautiful thing. So maybe do it alone. Um, Maybe don't try that in a yoga class if you're not ready for it. And be in it, sit with it, feel it, let it wash over you. That is your body letting it go without you having to talk about it. And not that talking about it is bad, but sometimes your body can let it go for you. Sometimes yoga can help release what we're holding on to that we don't want to hold on to unconsciously, but consciously we might want to hold on to it. And so the body is going to say, okay, fine, then I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this because we still have all these other things to do, and you can't possibly do it all consciously. The body just kind of clings to it and sticks it and hides it places. And the chest, the heart is one of the main stops, one of the main places why we crunch in, why we crunch down, why as women our chests collapse and our shoulders round. So to that end, one more back bend prep for you. And this is going to be the most strengthening and heating one. And actually a way back one at the beginning of COVID, I posted a little video on this on Airs Above Yoga on the social media Instagram channels. And I believe it's still up there, so have a look for that. But this particular Cobra roll is a very gentle way to A, prep for a deeper back bend, B, start to strengthen those muscles that are behind our nurturing, life-giving breasts as women. And as men, just strengthen your back and open your chest and open your collarbone. And also a great way to start to prep for strength in chaturanga if you're interested in vinyasa practice at all. So in order to do this, especially if you have any back issues, what I like to do for the Cobra roll, traditionally Cobra has the legs extended straight out. This is a prone position. So you're going to be laying on your mat, belly to the ground. You're going to bring your hands back so that they are in line, wrists directly under elbows. It's probably farther back than you think they need to be. Not up like a regular push up by your shoulders, but farther, farther back. So I advocate doing this in front of the mirror for the first few times until you get the muscle memory to do it safely. We don't want to dump into the fronts of the shoulders. And what you're going to try to do here the first couple times is we really want to train these back muscles to engage. So from prone position, you're going to take the feet to the edges of the mat. You're going to mimic that internal rotation from our camel pose with our block. And you're going to wriggle as much room between your pelvis and the mat as possible. So you're really going to walk your hips away from your shoulders and really ground down. Similarly to our camel pose, you're going to draw in through the pelvic floor and those lower abdominal muscles to protect the lower back. And then most importantly, you're going to press into the tops of the feet. Don't let the feet come up because they will try. And what's important about this, again, traditionally Cobra is practiced with the feet in line with hips. What I like, I have a little bit of a wider pelvis. I like my feet to be in line with the mat. So it gives me a little extra room. It allows my hips a little more contact with the floor, which protects the lower back. It also helps to relieve any tension in the lower back, as when you start to bring the upper back up, it can compress those lumbar vertebrae. So we want to be very mindful never to feel anything twingy or grumpy in our lower back. All of that being said, from there, pressing into the palms, I don't want you to use them and press into the floor. I want you to roll your shoulders back and down, and I want you to squeeze all of the muscles between your shoulder blades and your spine, and beneath your shoulder blades all the way down towards your hips on the side of the spine. And I want you to reach your chest up as much as you can without your hands. Then as soon as you've kind of maxed out, then you can gently press up into the hands and lift the chest up just to the belly button, not to the pelvis, just to the belly button. And then as you start to roll back down, you're going to exhale. And you're going to gently pull back on the hands, pull your chest forward, and open up through the heart. Come all the way back down to the floor and then roll again. On an inhale, roll the shoulders up and back and down. Squeeze everything. Exhale, press into the hands, then take another deep inhale at the top of your cobra, and exhale, pull the chest forward and roll back down. And you can breathe normally and do this with the breath in a way that feels supportive of you. Breathe normally until you get the hang of it. Generally speaking, when cueing with the breath, it's a nice deep inhale as you're opening the chest, and it's an exhale as you're coming back forward to the floor. That's traditional, but also break it down into its component parts to really get the benefit. And that's a great way to begin to build strength in the triceps. The elbows are in, they are not out to the side, as I mentioned with the traditional push-up, but they are in next to the body, much like chaturanga, but you're not coming up that far. And this is, again, going to open the heart center very gently. It's going to engage and strengthen the muscles in and around the shoulder blades and in and around the spine, all the way down towards the floor, in addition to your pelvic floor and your core. And don't forget about your feet. Press those tops of the feet into that mat, especially as you're coming up. And don't forget about them on the way down either. Believe me, as you're thinking about all of these things, how could you possibly be thinking about your holiday to-do list? It's just so much to do in your body in this moment. And that is one of the reasons why we love yoga, is because it brings you humbly directly into your body and directly into the present. And so I hope that these postures, these twists, these back bends, these gentle, supportive, restorative options will give you a place to come when everything is just getting to be a little too much. When maybe you haven't written all your holiday cards out, or maybe it is 3 days before Christmas and nothing is wrapped, or maybe you're not with the people that you wish you were with this holiday season. Know that, hope and pray that to whomever you hope and pray to. Hopefully, wherever you are is perfectly where you're meant to be. And that change can always be for the better. And that there is beauty, love, and joy in every single moment, even the really hard ones, if you know how to look for it. And I wish all of you a wonderful, beautiful, happy, and healthy, and restful and restorative and soothing, above all, soothing, self or otherwise, holiday season. I appreciate each and every one of you for sharing your space with me. So please feel free to share this with your loved ones. For more goodness, follow me on all the socials at Above the Ground Podcast, or visit my website, airsAboveYoga.com. And as always, check out my other episodes and all of my amazing sisters at divasthatcare.com. Find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Odyssey, Apple, or anywhere else that you feel guided. Again, my name is Gia-Raquel Rose, owner of Airs Above Yoga, and you're listening to Above the Ground Podcast, where every day is a good one.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.